Hello, my name is Rob Shestak. I am Chairman and CEO of the Voluntary Benefits Association. And today we have with us Motivity Care, Mim and Erin. And we're here to talk about not just a recent issue that I had to deal with personally, but how Motivity Care is an amazing employee benefit that is not an insurance product. It's more on the, say, a service type of program. But when you hear what Mim has to offer for her clients, employers, and employees, it's absolutely amazing. So if you weren't aware of this, about 6 weeks ago, my dad passed away, and I was very close with my mom and dad. My mom's still alive. And about 25 years ago, we put in a long-term care policy for both my parents. And in that policy, it had two features. One was a survivor benefit, which means if one parent died or one of the policyholders died, then the other one would have a paid up policy. And the other one was a return of premium. And my dad took care of everything. So when my dad passed, it was I have to shut off his cell phone. I have to notify the insurance companies, but she had to go back to the bank records to see what insurance companies they were, and then wills and all these different things, and caregiving and so forth. But the one thing that was really concerning is my mom had no idea that they had the long-term care policies with the return of premium rider, which in my dad's case is worth about $60,000. So when she got a notice from the insurance carrier that said, sorry for your loss, your policy's paid up, it ended there. And I said, Mom, did they send you a check for 60,000? She goes, why would they do that? And I said, because of return of premium rider. What is that? So she had no idea. And when I called the insurance company, since she was the beneficiary and I had power of attorney, they said, you don't have that benefit. And I asked them to read-look at the policy, and they said, oh, yeah, you do have it. Well, if I didn't know about it, my mom would have never received that money. And that's just one person in the whole ecosystem of insurance and care giving and so forth. So, how many other people are going through that where there's money out there, significant money from insurance policies or bank accounts that the beneficiaries and the loved ones don't know about, right? So, we need an aggregation tool. We need something that can aggregate all this stuff. My daughter lives in LA. A lot of her friends lost their home, papers, documents. As a matter of fact, if you look at this year, today's tax day, right? The greatest day in the world. Well, guess what? If you live in Los Angeles County, you now have until I believe it's either October or November 15th to file your taxes automatically. That's your new due date because everybody lost their records and they're worried about rebuilding their lives and homes. So even people in Kentucky with floods, they have an automatic extension from the IRS because the government knows that they're dealing with these things. But are they there to help? Who's going to help them? So with us, we have Mim and Erin from Motivity Care. And before we get started, I really didn't understand. I mean, I understood the value of Motivity Care, but until I had to live with something like this because of my dad's passing, I elevated the reasoning on why Motivity Care is such a tremendous tool to not just help organize you, but to help you with financial issues and most importantly, mental, right? Mental issues. Stress is the number one reason why people call out sick. Employers lose productivity. People get stressed. People then go on medication. They miss things. It's really a terrible thing, right? So Motivity Care is here to help with everything. So with that said, Mim, like to introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about your background. Why Motivity Care? What made you? I know you have a significant insurance and employee benefits background, but what made you start Motivity Care? There had to have been a reason or something like that. So I will turn it over to Mim. She will introduce herself and Erin. Again, give us a little bit of your background and let us know why you started Motivity Care and what Motivity Care is about. And then we can get into some questions for the audience.
Great. Well, thank you, Rob, first for having this conversation today, because you are so right. When you talk about getting thrown into caregiving, people are not as prepared. And as you kind of highlighted, I do have a finance benefits design. I used to work at NFP at the national level. I sat on site at Goldman Sachs and was their director of employee health and well-being strategy, done a lot of consulting. So come with a pretty deep knowledge of where the benefits landscape is right now, where it's going with an aging workforce and aging population. But to your point, this is also my lived experience. So there are two things that I've had many people call me like the care guru because I've been through so many different things. But one of the biggest aha moments for me was when my husband was in a hit and run accident. So when we think about caregiving, we think of aging and we have time to think about it. There was no time. I was literally on a business call and got this 212 number. So if you live in, the Northeast, that's probably Manhattan. And I'm thinking it might be a sales call. Nope. It's the social worker from New York Presbyterian Hospital. And my husband had been in New York City for a business meeting. He was in a hit and run accident. And I was not with him. I was 60 miles away. And from what they told me, he landed on the pavement, almost bled out. And they took him in, called me, and said, "How fast can you get here?" And I'm like, "Well, can I talk to him?" Nope, he can't talk. So now he can't talk for himself. He can't talk about his medications. He can't say his blood type. He English is not his mother tongue, which can be very, very important in a medical situation. He couldn't talk about allergies to anything. Like, what if he had a latex allergy, as an example? And I don't care how smart you are, Rob. When it comes out of the blue like that, you go into panic mode. This is the person that you love, whether it's your child, your husband, your mother, your father, whoever it is. And I realized how little information I really had, or what I even thought to tell them. So I'm throwing stuff in a bag. I don't even know what I'm walking into. And when I got there, he had four sets of doctors, four. I didn't know if he was ever going to walk again or work. I had no idea what the situation would be. And at the same time, like many of us, I have a career. So this was one of the major reasons. I've also supported my family when my father had pancreatic cancer. My sister-in-law had ALS. God forbid anybody goes through that, but we're here to support. Maybe you go through a cancer treatment, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're declining the whole time, but maybe you need support, like, around that care uh, period, whatever that may be. How are you getting back from the hospital? Are you getting food? Who's getting you to and from appointments? Do you have a pet? It gets much more complicated than people think. It isn't just about an insurance policy. And I also think that, to your point, Rob, there are medical decisions, there are financial decisions, there are legal decisions, and there are personal preferences. And the whole point of creating Motivity Care is to make aging and caregiving easier, to reduce the risks, the time, and the cost. And when we do that, it means we have more peace of mind. We can focus on our families and our careers and know that we're getting to vetted resources, fully vetted resources that meet our budget, our insurance needs, not just a list. Because I've lived it, because I've seen it, because people on our team have all gone through caregiving, we know what it means to have a credible, experienced guide to make sure that you have what you need. And when you marry that with a technology platform that literally lets you keep every piece of information documentation you need in your pocket, you always have what you need, no matter where you are. So if you get that out of the blue call, you don't have to worry, and you have live support. And that can make all the difference in the world.
Going back to your husband's situation, that's a very good point. Does he have any allergies to medications, to latex? My wife cannot get a venipuncture in her left arm. I can't tell you. She goes to the hospital, and they're like, they want to do a venipuncture in her left arm, and she actually put on her arm in like a black magic marker, no venipunctures, because they just don't know. When you're in an emergency situation, they want to make sure that the patient stays alive. They're not looking at little things like this, right? Especially allergies to medications, right? That's why most people end up in the ER. So you were just talking about one aspect, but when my dad passed, it's where's his will? Where's all his life insurance? He was a veteran. What veteran benefits? This. It is crazy. And then, assets. It's not just bank accounts, it's pensions, it's 401ks, IRAs, life insurance, wills, who to contact, what to do, what are his wishes, just
Right.
all these different things, assets, cars, houses. And you need a repository. And there are some people who do one part of it and then one part of it and one part of it. So now you got to log into three different places. They don't talk to each other. You have
Right.
an ecosystem where all of these things are built in. So, am I right to say that you can put medical records in there? You could put wills in there, like PDFs. You can put all your life insurance policy information. You can put long-term care. Do you have a return of premium rider? Where are all your bank accounts? My mom wanted to cancel my dad's phone. I said, you can't do that. She goes, why? I said, what happens if you log into one of his accounts and they want to do two-factor authentication and they send a text to his phone? Guess what?
Right.
You shut his phone off, you got nothing. You have nothing. So it's, do you shut off their email? Do you shut off their phone? All these different things. It's
Right.
absolutely crazy. So when you started about, a little over a year ago telling me all these different things that Motivity Care has, you are that planet. You are that ecosystem that can do all of these things. And then I believe you even said you can give limited access to caregivers where they can see, but they can't see the bank account number, but they can say Bank of America, but it won't have the balance. It won't have the bank account number. But then when somebody passes, you can unlock it and then they have access to all these
Well,
things. Am I
and we
right
got
in
to
saying that?
You are, and I want to say two things. So, yes, the platform is very unique. This is not like a Google Docs or Dropbox, because some people do have these things digitized, and that's good, but they're not as secure.
Right.
So, having, for those that know what this means, SOC 2 level 2 certification. It is literally the highest level of tech security verification. And that is core to what we believe. But the second thing, to your point, is that different people in the care ecosystem need different information. Again, if your mom or dad has a pet and they go into the hospital, who's responsible for the pet? And do they know what to feed them? Do they know who the vet is? If
Look,
something
yeah, look what
blows up,
happened to Gene Hackman and his
yeah,
wife, right? They were there for
exactly.
2 weeks
Yeah,
and they had pets and one pet passed away.
right.
So you're right. Nobody, if it wasn't for a neighbor going up there, they wouldn't have known about the other two pets. They would have passed away as well. Listen, I know it was tragic with Gene and his wife, but pets are loved ones too.
Well, and I think, Rob, when we talk about that case, it sounds like the wife who was younger, right? She's going to be fine. I don't have to worry about her. But it sounds like she's the one that may have hit her head or whatever.
Yeah,
And so, because he had advanced Alzheimer's, his primary caregiver. So, this is the other thing we got to think about. If you are the caregiver to someone else, what is the backup to you if you have an emergency?
good point.
I also want to be clear that we are very careful about educating people about what you're going to put into the platform. So everybody has different medical records, right? You have might have my charts, you might be a snowbird, you may have two different homes, you may have two different sets of doctors. All of these can go in as live URLs. And why? Your medical history is a living document. And so we never want you to put in like a static document like that. However, on top of that, to your point, we very specifically call out the things that a doctor trying to read through a 20-page medical report may miss or not see, which gets back to an allergy. You got to talk to them in this language or whatever it is. But it's also thinking through sets of people that you may need to call in that emergency. We all have our medical emergency person, right? And it might be your husband and wife. But what if both of you are in an accident? Who's the next person
Yes,
that's going to get called?
yeah,
And if you're not near your home, who is the neighbor or friend that's going to keep eyes on your home until you get back there? That's very important. That's like a security thing that nobody tends to think about. Or if you're traveling for work and you're at a conference and something happens to you there, are there specific work contacts and make it super easy for someone? Do you know who cleans your mom or dad's home? Who cuts the lawn, right? Who's the repair person that your loved ones trust? If you have all of that, you don't have to go searching for anyone. It's literally in your hand. And this is what I mean by when you do this the right way and set it up, you can't make a profound experience any less profound, but you can reduce the time and the cost and the risk.
Yeah,
And
now, yeah, I mean, and the other thing is we're talking about medical side, but on the financial side, things that I was dealing with my mom is she wanted to go in and cancel all his credit cards. Fine, I understand that, but one had air miles on it, maybe a couple 100,000 air miles. That's, I said to my mom, you cancel that credit card, those air miles go away. Tell them
right.
you want to transfer them to your card or give you access to it. If you have credit life insurance, how does the credit card company know that the cardholder passed away and then whatever balance is on there goes away? What about mortgage life insurance, like a decreasing term? How do you know they have it? You don't. So we're talking
Right.
about all these things. And then you brought up a very valid point. Just having that information in there is one thing, but understanding it from a financial analytics standpoint, you actually have certified financial advisors that can help and say, okay, if they had this IRA, then you want to move it here, you want to do this, make sure they do that, check this, check that. That's a
It's
benefit within
true.
your platform too.
So anybody that has Motivity Care gets a free 30-minute financial care review. This is different than retirement planning because there are great financial advisors out there, but not everybody is an expert when we talk about financial care planning. So we're very careful about who we work with, people that are true experts, annuities, known nationally for what they do, are vetted for how they interact with clients. And for our core partners, we know them. And when I say I know them, I mean, we've been to their offices. Some of them have been to my dining room table. um, we're very big on a real care ecosystem around you. But I wanted to point out something specifically that you talked about. So we had a client that we were helping, and her mom was in Connecticut. She was the daughter was in New Jersey, and it was not a good situation. Like they thought they put her into a good community, clearly not. And so we worked with them to try and get it resolved. It did not get resolved, ended up having her move her mother down to New Jersey. But at the same time, we had our financial advisor partners review everything and do financial forensics. So they found an escrow account that had never been turned over. And this is why you need somebody who knows, right? You can say, oh, well, you got to look for this and this and this, but you're not the expert. They know what to go to look for. And this is why it's a team around you, not just this is why we built out all these credible resources across the country. Medicare questions, whether it's about, advantage plans or, what does it mean if I move from one state to another? And are there tax look back periods? Again, people don't think about that because you'll get a parent that goes to Florida and they're doing great, and all of a sudden they start to need a lot more care, and the family decides to move them closer. Well, there are tax considerations, and it is different. Medical directives and healthcare directives. Each state has different criteria, different forms. When you talk about your financial POAs, right, which gives permission, right, to certain people to pay bills for you or have access to certain accounts. Well, here's something that a lot of folks don't know. You think if you turn it over, you're going to get automatic access. Not necessarily. And you may be paying those bills out of your own pocket until it gets approved by their lawyers. So this is just another piece. And we've seen this is where it starts to bleed into like employee benefits. Your employee is sitting there trying to do their job. They get thrown. And now you've now heard about what the mess is like, right? Trying to manage all of this. And that's why we stand behind them. You call us, we understand your situation. So there are blended families, divorced, solo aging. Maybe your family isn't necessarily what is legally considered family, right? So what kind of uh, legal mechanisms do you have to have in place to make sure that everybody's carrying out your wishes? And again, the more we talk about it, people are going, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming and complex. It
Right.
is. But that's why we're here, to simplify that process and to quickly get you to the right resources. So we don't give you lists. Like you'll see this, right? You go out, no, here are the 20 that you can go and vet yourself.
Back. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, you don't have the expertise to even look into those things.
Right.
You may not know what questions to ask. Uh, I'll give you another example. Should I move into a senior living community? Well, you'll go to one of those sales meetings and they'll walk you around and they'll wine and dine you and they'll give you all the, but they're not going to tell you whether or not they're financially viable, which is a big issue right now with some of these communities. They are not going to tell you the real patient to staffing ratio. They may be counting the people in the cafeteria, not the people that are doing direct care. And so that's what we're here to do, is to help narrow down the choices that make sense for your budget, your needs, your personal preferences, warranties, guarantees, contract negotiation, looking at some of those differences. Our goal is to make sure that you have the best information for your situation
It's
so
like
that
going into a timeshare meeting, right? We're talking about a lot of different things here. And you did mention one key thing. You are there to help. So it's the customer centric side of it. And that's where Erin comes in. So again, we're talking about medical, we're talking about, the financial side and all these things. And everybody thinks it's simple, but it's not. My parents lived a very simple life. They sold their house. They live in an apartment. He had a pension. He has a couple of bank accounts, couple of credit cards, email, cell phone, medical, this, that. And I've probably have spent 40 to 60 hours in the last 6 weeks just trying to help my mom. And that doesn't include what she is trying to do on her end. And you're right. It's like, okay, here's a list. Do this, do this, do this. Oh, okay, I got to do this, but how do I do it? Right. So you're not providing them the list. You're providing them with the personal infrastructure and personal touch on, hey, you need to do these things, and we're here to help you with that checklist pre-death, and then we're here to help you resolve that checklist post-mortem,
And
correct?
I would say let's go back even further than that, Rob, because this is what I ask everybody. I am on my own platform. Aaron is on the platform. My husband is on the platform. He's fine now, by the way, just so everybody knows. He really is, thank God. But my mother, who is 2 hours away from me and is going to be 88 this year, she's on the platform. My mother-in-law, who's going to be 95 this year, who lives overseas, is on the platform. Now, she doesn't use the platform. The point of the platform is that me, my husband, and our family members all have the right information should something happen and we need to act quickly. But the time to start planning for this, Rob, is now. Because what happens if you are in an accident? What if you were the caregiver to somebody else? And we've talked to many people like this, right? Well, I'm the primary care person and I work the job and everybody counts on me. Um, Unfortunately, there is a fairly high percentage of people where the caregiver passes before the people being cared for. And this is another aspect of what we talk about. Um, and all this sounds very dark, right? And it's hard to think about. And that's why people don't do it, right? I don't want to think about it. But here's the really wonderful news. You can age independently. You can have control over your choices. You can go through a surgery and get out of that situation and be in better shape to enjoy the life that you want to lead. But like most things in life, having a plan that is specific to you is what gives you those choices, that gives you that freedom and independence. And
Yeah.
yes, it happens at end of life, but it really starts way before that. So this is why we encourage everybody to think about, where is everything? You're traveling overseas for vacation and you break a leg. What happens? This happened to my
Yeah.
cousin, and honestly, he came onto the platform. I'm not kidding. He went over to France. He was in a bad accident. All hell broke loose. His wife had to fly over, like they didn't know where anything was. Had they had the platform, all that information right at their fingertips could have been shared with the medical team over there. They have us as an emergency backup. Um, and what we try and tell people is we hope you never have an accident like that. But the reality is that most of us are either going to make care decisions for somebody we care about or they're making them for us. So
Gotcha. Let,
you should be able to tell everybody what you want and need. You should have control over
yeah.
that.
So let's talk about two things. One, I want to do a little deeper dive on the platform. Like, tell me give me the elevator pitch on your platform. But before we do that, okay, something happens. I need help. I need this. I need that. I'm going to pick up the phone and call. And I got to tell you, I called my dad's insurance company on the long-term care return of premium rider. I have notes that are absolutely, oops, I got to turn that off. But look at this. It's ridiculous, right? I've talked to six different people, got six different answers. And I'm in this business and I know they're all wrong. They will not talk to my mom as the beneficiary. She's the beneficiary of it. Nope, can't talk to her. Can't talk to you. I said, I have her POA. I said, you can talk to me. Well, no, if we can't talk to her, then we can't talk. I'm like, guys, and we're talking about a brand name. If I said the name of the insurance company, you would be like, oh, yeah, everybody knows that name. I need help, right? I know how to navigate the system and I'm still stuck. So there's got to be another avenue, another way, another opinion, another strategy. I've dealt with this once in my life over the last 6 weeks. Erin, you deal with this every day with thousands of people. So you know all the ins and outs. So let's talk a little bit about the customer service side. I know, Mim, very important. You talked about SOC 2 and all these things because security is everything. And from our previous conversations, you've never had a data breach, which is very important because my whole life is on your platform, right? If somebody wanted to take my identity, they're going to Motivity Care and they're in like Flint, right? So that is very important, and I'm glad to hear that. So on the customer service side, Aaron, do you want to go into a little bit about that? And, you
Sure.
know, not just I'm alive and I'm putting the information in there, but if something happened to me, how would you help my wife or my family manage my life that is in your portal? So my entire life, everything, 30, 60 years, everything, every life insurance policy, bank account, credit card, will, estate, this, that, wishes, pets, emergency contacts. My entire life is with you. So if my wife calls, you're her go-to person. Do you assign like one person to manage me? So every time when I call, I'm like, oh, let me explain what I talked to Aaron about. Let me explain what I talked to Mim about. That's not the way that you do it. I'm assigned a concierge person that is my go-to person, period. So when we have a conversation, I don't have to repeat myself. You know how important that is? How many times have you
Absolutely.
called a company and talked to five different people and you had to spend the first 15, 20 minutes explaining what you talked to the previous person about and you get a different answer?
Yeah, so frustrating. And you are absolutely correct, Rob. We have dedicated concierge managers. So that way, if your wife were to call and she needs support, we would know all the information about you, of course. And you would have to permission and fill out a form basically that says, okay, these are the people that are allowed to have this information and at what point. Whether it's you're in the hospital and you can't speak for yourself, or, worst case scenario, you are no longer with us and she needs access to your account to get to all of the important documents. You can permission on the platform visibility, editing capability. Someone can just collaborate and add content to a folder. So it's really customizable. And we work with our clients to talk through and think through, okay, who needs the information and when, and what do you want in the end? If something were to happen to you in an emergency or non-emergency situation, for example, in my family, and as Mim touched on, pets, right? And housekeeping, things like that. My mom is a busy executive, travels the world. My stepdad is 15 years older, has dementia, and he doesn't remember who the gardener is or who takes care of the snow removal. And if she's across the world, he can contact me or look in her platform account and say, oh, this is who I need to call. And it takes out that complicated wondering, okay, what do I need to do? So our clients can pick up the phone, talk to the concierge manager and say, can you help me? This is, I don't know where to begin. And we just listen to what they're stressed about, what they need support with, and then we take it one step at a time, depending on, if they have those additional concierge services or not. And if they don't have the concierge services in place, then we can understand what the biggest stressors are and create a customizable scope of work. And then they agree or disagree, and we work with them and based on budget and needs, and then get them the right resources when they need it.
Did you want to do like a quick demo of, just like what your platform looks like? We don't need to go into any folders or anything. If you're not prepared to do that, we'll have another episode and invite you back and specifically go over a demo. But if there's anything you want to share, Erin, just let me know. And while you're looking into that, I want to go back and ask Mim another question. Is when when I can upload PDFs, I can upload documents. And you said one thing that was extremely important. And you say this every time, and I know you're waiting to say this. I said earlier, my daughter lives in LA, and she had a lot of friends that lost things. You were telling me two things that were so vital. One, if you're in a facility and you see something wrong, like a bed sore or something, boom, I can take a picture with the Motivity Care app, upload it, and now I have a record of
It's
it.
not even upload, Rob. It's faster than that. There's no upload. You literally go into the app, take a picture, and you can share it with your collaborators. It's not going through email. We are HIPAA compliant.
Awesome.
So
That's great.
that's one. And then the second thing is that the app, because it's desktop and app, but the app also allows you to PDF. Like you literally can go in and lay out your POA document and go click, click, click. Do you want to PDF this into a document? Done. You now have it. I just talked to somebody who lost their passport. So when you have a copy of your passport and you can give that right to the government, that's a lot faster process. As an example, so there's nothing that, isn't in there. But I also want to be clear, there's the platform. And in our estimation, everybody should have this information because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And it gives peace of mind to the people that you care about. So you can have the platform, or you can just call us for concierge services. Like I'm in the middle of this crisis. I'll deal with this later. You don't have to do both. And we're totally fine with that. I think the other thing too is that we do the scope of work, but we also put a 90-day guarantee on that, Rob. So what does that mean? Yeah. We do vetting for AIDS. We, all kinds of, in-depth kinds of, vetting before we're going to give you that information. But we want to make sure that it is the right fit. We could have done all our due diligence. The aide goes in there and it's just not a good personality fit, no matter how hard you try. Well, you can call us back. We're not going to charge you extra, to put in that other person. And that can be for a food service. It can be for transportation. We can help you with doctor's appointments if you're overwhelmed. Because again, this goes back to when you get thrown into this, AARP tells us you will spend, and you already know this, 24 hours on average a week on caregiving management. That's not direct care. So who of us has an extra 24 hours that we can suddenly come up with? And in some cases, when it's really crisis, we're talking many, many more hours. And so this again goes back to simple. We take the complexity, we give you the tools and the resources so that you can have that peace of mind, so that you can focus on your job, you can focus on what's important, and you can have peace of mind for the people that you're caring for. This also includes, adult children that may have disabilities, right? There's a whole big discussion about that too. Like what
Oh,
is
yeah.
and how do you do that? So we also have within our network, and again, this is where we start getting a little bit of the expertise. So when you talk about healthcare directives, there are specific ones for those kinds of kids. It's not
So,
just one size fits all. And that's why when you talk to us, we're going to make sure that you're getting and we understand at a deeper level what kind of attorney, not just an estate attorney, but there are all different nuances that go around what you may or may not need. A will may be great, but a trust might be a better option. Well, there's different kinds of trusts.
well, let's
So
go through this too. Again, my daughter in LA, um, I go, she did this, but friends of hers, a lot of them didn't do it. But you go around the house to take pictures. Fine. They're on your phone. Now you lose your phone. Now you're in trouble. But with you, open up the Motivity, I can take a picture of all my TVs, all my clothing. I can take a picture of everything. It goes right up into the platform. If I had a fire, a total loss, like they have in California, you know
Yep.
what? Filing an insurance claim is a hell of a lot easier than, oh my God, I forgot to take a picture of my diamond ring. Well, how do we know you had a diamond ring? Well, oh no, I don't have a receipt. It burned in the fire. I can upload receipts, correct?
Mhm.
On things. I can upload
Everything.
insurance policies for a diamond ring that's expensive or a Rolex watch or whatnot. These are things that people don't think about. And great, okay, let's face it, I have
Appraisal documents,
homeowners
right?
and
Yeah.
they have an app, which is fine. I take a picture, it's there. But then I have something with a will. I take a picture, it's there. But again, it's I may have 12 different platforms that have my information. Nobody knows about it. They don't talk to each other. How about if I had one platform, one login, one email that I take a picture, it's there. I upload a document, it's there. I can go to the picture. That's you. You
Right.
have solved this. You have solved not just an issue with documents and paperwork and so forth, but mental and stress. I mean, just
Right.
imagine you go to one place and you have everything about somebody's life. The stress would just be horrific if you had to do it on your own. I guarantee you, my parents didn't have a very complex life. I'm going to miss something. I know I am.
Right. And it's again, it's nobody's fault, right? We
Mm.
all have super busy lives and things happen, but you know, and I've been through this multiple times. By the way, I also went through a house fire many years ago. So your thing about those pictures, you are 100% right. But again, it goes back to, okay, well, that's great, but why should my employees, why should I care? We do work straight to consumer. We're happy to help anybody. But so many employees are now caregivers to adults and aging adults, 25 to 40% of every workforce. And even if 15 hours a week, think about this, are being dedicated by your employee because they have to do this stuff for their loved one, how much is that costing you?
A lot. And their
Exactly.
clients, they may lose a client because somebody was so stressed they forgot a deadline.
Right.
Also, on your platform, you date and timestamp
To the
upload. So now my dad puts a will up there, and that's great. 3 months later, he changes it. He's not going to call me and say, "Oh, I updated my will. I bought a car." He's not going to tell me everything in his day in his life. Now, if I go up there, I'm like, "Oh, well, he has a new will. That's not the will that I have here, but it's date and time stamped. So now I know he updated it or what the most recent version of it, correct?"
And you're going to know that he did it. So not only is it date stamped, it tells you who did it. So my entire team, including me, double authenticate. So Rob, if you asked me to do something in your account, you would see Mim went in on this date and time, and this is what she did. So
Amazing.
there is a security piece behind this that is built in at a much, much higher level to the second. But this gets into blended families. We did a demo and we have in divorce decrees. And this woman on the phone, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I wish somebody would have told us this." Beneficiary designations. When you have
Oh, that's
blended
right. Yes.
families,
Yeah, I forgot about all the forms that you have to help people. Hey, I need a simple POA. You got to go to a lawyer. You got to do this. You know what? Go to your site. You put in, it's 2 paragraphs. You go to your bank. You get it notarized. You're done.
well, I'm gonna hold you there because the one thing we're very careful about, there is legal language that you've got to be careful about. You don't, and I'm not trying to trash any of these simple low cost, and I understand everything costs money, but you got to weigh that against the problem and the hell that you can go through when you don't have, and unfortunately, the dark side of this is when you have families fighting after, it's bad enough that somebody's passed and now everybody's fighting. And this can get into lawsuits, and we've seen it, 10,000, $100,000 later, right? If you have a family where there is conflict and you don't want this for your children or loved ones, this is another reason for doing this. The other application is that you can make short videos on our platform. And though it's not legal, I mean, I hope it is going to be eventually, you can put in a short video and say, "This is why I did this." So there are lawyers that are going to be very careful about, like, if you're leaving somebody out of a will, you better be specific because I mean this is why we have top of the line people to get you to so that you don't make those mistakes because again, just like insurance, right? You go to an insurance expert, somebody who is vetted, who gives you the credible information so that it is right for you. What's right for you is not necessarily right for the next person or the next person. And that is true for care situations. I want to
Yeah.
age at home. I want to age, to this. Okay, well, we're going to talk through what that really means.
And the
No,
other
I think
thing,
maybe I want to go to retirement community.
yeah,
Okay, well, do you know what kinds there are? Do you know what, right? And so how does this fit into your lifestyle? Will this be a good fit for you?
I always say this. I always say, if you have a score of 1 to 100, I'm just throwing out a score of 1 to 100, and the facility is 88%, 90%, what does that mean? Right? So I always equate it this way. If I gave you a bottle with 100 pills in it and 10 of them were cyanide, 90% of them were not, would you go in there and try to take a chance? No. So why would you take a chance on a facility if you don't know anything about it? So I call you and you've already done the vetting and you can say this facility has these ratings and this. That is so important.
We also
It
do
breaks
it,
it.
Rob, for skilled nursing facilities. So if you've ever gotten handed that list, right?
Oh,
Somebody's got to go in, there's a list of 40. How do you vet them, right?
horrible,
This
horrible.
we've done multiple times. So you turn it over to us. We understand your insurance. How far are the primary people from that facility that are going to be visiting that person, right? Back end ratings. What is their infection rate over the past 3 years? What is their true staffing to patient ratio? Is it both long and short term? Because if something happens, you want to move them again, right? Do
Yeah,
you want an option of a private room? Do you even want to know what those costs are? And we make sure that you get the name of the person that we talk to and a real direct number, not an 800 number like, hey, go have at it.
that
That's a
happened.
huge thing.
Yeah, when my dad was in the hospital, they gave my mom literally a list, 10 pages,
That's
40,
right.
50 people. She didn't know who to pick. She picked the ones
Exactly.
that were closer to her house. So
Right.
I kind of went online and I said, these are like the top 10 or 15. Not no beds, no beds, no beds, no beds. Oh, we got plenty of beds. You know what? Their rating is probably here, and there's a
Right.
reason why they have all these open beds. So, and now you don't have anywhere to go. And what do they specialize in? And one of the things before we go back to Aaron, just so everybody knows, the VBA, HVBA has special pricing with Motivity Care, which we won't discuss here because it's really if it's embedded or it's standalone and so forth. But I got to tell you, this absolutely 100% needs to be employer paid because everybody is going through this. They have a family member, if not 80, 90%, but I'm telling you, it's a significant number. And how much productivity is being lost because even if they take off 5 hours a week to deal with a loved one, live or passed away or whatnot, all these employers are dealing with this with one family member, maybe multiple ones, or their self or their spouse. It needs to be employer paid. This is an EAP on significant steroids.
Well, and
It's
we partner, Rob. So that's the other thing is that Motivity Care is built not to just be a standalone product. And again, I came out of benefits. That's been my biggest beef, when I was on the other side of the fence. So we are built to integrate into a total rewards program to be reflective of that employer's look, feel, communication style. We know what your EAP is. We're going to ask your employees if they're tapping into their 401ks to pay for care. By the way, number one financial risk for millennial workers, number one, this is Forbes, you can go look it up, is cost of care for their aging parents. This is going to be a bigger and bigger crisis. So we want to make sure the financial side of it, that employee, because it's not just about what you're paying for the person that's being cared for, how much jeopardy is that employee going into if the money is coming out? They're super stressed, to your point. They're not able to focus. We also are going to check to see if you have a dependent care benefit, which we keep in our system, right? So your employee calls us and, oh yeah, we have mom at home. Okay, that's a different scenario from a tax perspective than putting somebody into retirement community. So this is what I mean about the questions that we are proactive. So we're concierge, but we're also kind of chief of staff, really. Our job is to make sure that we're asking you the right questions to make sure that you're not missing anything and enhance your program. And as you know, Rob, we do a lot of education. So ongoing webinar series about different pieces of the puzzle. And we break it down
That's
because it's
huge.
overwhelming. Um,
Yeah.
we will even do customized
Yeah.
education depending on the client. We're happy to do that because we want businesses and their employees to thrive. We know, again, I keep saying aging workforce, aging population, this is not going away. And if you want to reduce some of these probably hidden costs to a lot of employers, your mental health costs are growing. We all know that. That's Kaiser Permanente data. Like we can go into all of that. But if 25 to 40% of your workforce are caregivers and you can reduce their stress, from a benefit, I just want to say this, it's convertible. And this is important. So if you put it in for your employees and they leave or they retire, they can take this with them. We're with them into retirement for as long as they want us next to them because we just feel so passionately about living your best life as you age. And so much of this is key. And I think, employers, again, we are in a very stressful world right now. So every aspect of being able to take stress away and make it easier for employers to keep their employees productive, to keep the employees focused on their job and be able to balance their personal life, their career, and their caregiving is just vital in the world that we're in. And
I can put up my tax returns.
yeah,
I can put up all my lab results. Like I was going, I'm
well,
I'm
Rob, I'm going to
applying
go one
for,
better.
go ahead.
You can put in the URL to those places. You don't even have to put in the document. So you can put in a live URL and think about if I've got multiple doctors, multiple hospitals. And again, if anybody who's gone through complicated medical stuff, you might have your personal physician, maybe you're going, God forbid, but if you're going to Sloan Kettering and like then they have another specialist or whatever. One place you have all the URLs. We kind of encourage people to do that because your medical history is a living document. Um, if you need to like down and dirty prescription drugs, how many times have you gone into an ER and they say, well, what drugs is somebody taking? Well, how do you know that, right? So you can line up prescription drug bottles and take the app and just go click, 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 click. You're not typing anything.
Here's the
Now
other
you know
one.
for
I'm applying for long-term care. And they
sure.
say, what medications are you taking? Have you had any lab results? And so forth. So I log into LabCorp, I log into Aetna. That is such a pain in the butt. Here, I can just put the URL to LabCorp and I can connect that way. Does it automatically sign me in or I have to put my credentials in?
You still have to put your credentials in. That's just a
Okay,
Yeah.
security
fine.
feature, Rob.
So now,
Security.
and then I can upload all of my lab results because right now I go on my laptop, LabCorp, boom, this. Then I got to go into my doctor and get notes on this. Then I got to go into this doctor and get notes on that. And they want detail. I don't remember, right? So this here basically manages my life. If I wanted to go back and look at a tax return from 5 years ago, I can go in here and pull it up. It is the
Right.
ultimate depository for your life. It is your life.
Yeah. Well, we call it your life intel platform to
Life
this. So,
in platform.
right. It
I'll
is,
let
you're right. I love that you say it's your life because it
it
is.
is. It is. This thing, I'll put it this way. It's my fault. I want, I talked about this, but my was through a lot of things over the last year, year and a half, and bad excuse. I just didn't have time to do it. And it's a sad excuse, but I got to tell you, I am excited to start doing this for me and my wife because if something happens to me, I want to make sure that she takes care of what herself, is not stressed, and doesn't miss something that can either financially hurt her from a tax standpoint or missing money or misses this bank account because the banks aren't going to call you and saying, oh, by the way, you got 50 grand in this account. And dealing with the insurance company, they're not going to call you and saying, "Oh, you got to fill out a claim form." Well, what company do I go to? Well, I go to ABC Carrier, and they sold off to this carrier and this carrier, and I'm getting a runaround. Here, I can just put the link to it, and they can go in there and fill out the claim, and it can get submitted. So this thing can manage everything in my life, both alive and deceased.
Right. So platform for your information documentation, have that peace of mind wherever you go. And concierge chief of staff services. So we always say we put arms around our clients to be there for you through every step of a care journey, wherever you are. And we are bulldogs. Coming out of insurance and fighting insurance companies personally, we've gotten financial advisors fired. I'm not exaggerating. And yeah, because we figured out that the guy was getting this woman with memory loss to write checks to his personal charity.
So here's what we're going
Which
to
is
do.
interesting. Yeah.
We went over a little bit, but I got to tell you, this was exciting. This was a very good 45-minute plus.
You
This
can
was
edit down
awesome.
whatever you want.
So
But now you understand what we do, Rob. Now
and
you
I
understand
did
it at a level.
before. I understand it
Yeah.
better now, and it really gives me goosebumps because this would have been so beneficial for my mom, but thank God I was there to help her. And most people probably don't have that. So here's what we're going to do. We don't need to go over your contact information or the website. We're going to put that into the final video when it's edited. We'll put that all in there. We'll put your contact info. We'll put Erin's contact info. But what I want to do is I'd like to schedule a follow-up seminar or webinar, and I want to go through a live demo. So let's set up like an account, and then let's take pictures, let's upload it, let's show somebody, maybe one will, one insurance policy, one doc, something simple, but show them one, how easy it is and what the benefits are for it. And I guarantee you at the end of the day, everybody who watches this video is going to want this platform. So I applaud you for putting this together. It's amazing. And you own the technology, which is great. So you built the platform, you own the platform.
Yeah, let me be clear about that. We are
Okay.
partners for the platform.
Okay, but you have the rights to it.
Yeah, I mean, we have rights for our version of it. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
But
And
if
your
you
version
ever,
of
and
it.
just so you know, on the back end, because Gaston and Ali, who are really the ones that developed the chassis of this, I'm just going to repeat it because I think I shared this before. Gaston built the equivalent of Synchrony in Canada and sold it. His partner Ali worked globally at UBS Bank and Tech Security. So when we
Perfect.
vetted and looked for this, because people said, how could you have gotten SOC 2 level 2 this fast? And
Right.
we said, because we found the chassis and then customized what we needed for this. Because the concierge services, in my mind, are every bit as important as the platform. If you don't have both pieces of the puzzle, and just so you know, I'll give you, and I know we need to talk about this, but when we've gotten those big lists for skilled nursing facilities, we've turned them around in 24 to 48 hours. Like that's what we do. You are paying us to save your time because this is the big thing. What is your time worth, Rob? Right?
Depends on who you ask.
Okay.
But let's end with this, Mim. So the HVBA, we have an event in May in Houston, 13th and 14th. We're going to be in Nashville. What dates, Sarah? August 30th and 31st?
No, I just sent the email. Sorry. August, it's the 26th and 27th.
And then we're going to be in Atlantic City in November. Mim, what are the dates for Atlantic City?
November 19th and 20th.
So
And
if you've been to
Atlantic
any of our events, it's very
I
similar
was,
format.
I was the one, I was at the fabulous aquarium.
Yeah,
Yes,
with the
she
penguin.
was.
Yeah.
So what's good here is MIM, they are a platinum sponsor of the HVBA, a great partner. Follow-up is amazing. The team's amazing. Erin's been great going through things. You get them on the phone, they respond. Very rare. MIM will be at the events. Please, we'll make introductions if you want to talk to her. Take her picture, track her down, talk to her. It's just amazing stuff. So let's
And
end
you
there.
tell me,
Go ahead.
Rob, what you want me, because I know you want me to speak in Houston. So, like I said, I think that take a look at the video again, because I do think it's a great intro, is to show the video because you get the emotional heart piece.
Yep.
And then interactive, like how many of you have been caregivers? How many family, like, because I always believe that that's
And,
like really.
and your video is 3 minutes. So what we'll do is on this video at the end, we'll have Mim and Erin's contact information. If it's 3 minutes, we can embed the video. So we'll have the video embedded here so they can watch it. Or I'll tell you what, let's put the video in at the beginning of this. So we can kind of do that and get people really excited about it and then go into the conversation. So we'll work that out on the back end, on the tech side.
Whatever you
And
guys want to do,
I thank you.
if you want to cut the video or not use the whole thing, let us know because we own that content. So it's totally fine with us
Perfect.
if it's shorter, shorter piece. But for the interactive piece, and I've said this to you, Rob, like there's so much like I would love to see for HVBA is like EAPs, Motivity Care, like you have that transportation benefit. And I still think I should be talking to those folks because I think there's real good synergy after the little bit because I've heard them present in November. So I don't know how involved they
Oh,
are.
the evacuation, medical evacuation.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
send me an email on that,
yeah.
and I'll get you connected with them
If you
like
ever want
tomorrow.
to do like a panel discussion around aging, caregiving stuff
We
like
can do that.
you
Okay, so
want.
put that down, Sarah. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about aging. We're going to have some of our sponsors. Let's do that at the November event. We can have a panel with MIM. We can have Rick Solowski, who's our Medicare expert, and then we can talk about the medical evacuation and put them on a panel, and that's awesome. So,
Do you have
with
anybody
that,
that does long-term care insurance, the group long-term care
yes, we
insurance?
do. Axia, they're a
Yeah.
great partner of
I would,
ours
because
too.
we love to like work
Okay,
with them too, because to me,
perfect.
helping them care for others, but what do you have in place for you? So I
Okay.
think it's,
Yep.
not a bad thing to
So
do. And
again,
November's
with
Philadelphia again?
Atlantic City,
Yeah.
Atlantic City. Okay, great.
August is Nashville,
Yeah.
and May is Houston. So again, thank you guys for your time. This
Oh,
was
thank you.
amazing conversation.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. And with
Yeah.
that said, thank you for watching this long video, but I'll tell you, best 45 minutes you'll ever spend for your life today and for the rest of your life. So Mim, thank you for everything. Erin, thank you for everything and what you do. We appreciate you. We love you. You're awesome. And just remember, when you have the opportunity out there, please pay it forward. It's just a great feeling, and it's just helping people is our ultimate goal. That's why we sell insurance, to help people out of issues. And that's why we have platforms like this. So again, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for coordinating all of this. And we'll see you on part 2 of this when we do the demo with Erin.
For information on this HVBA TV episode, please contact us at hvbatv@vbassociation.com.